Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and Kwisatz Haderachs, presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here with Barrett Dudley to discuss episode 4 of Dune Prophecy from HBO. Barrett, take it away.
I had to bring my thinking machine in here today. I know that you're a hardliner on it.
I am.
And the consequences must be paid. The iron price, in fact. But here we are on the thinking machines. And I think we'll let it skate. I think we'll let it skate this time.
Yeah, well, it's good that you brought your thinking machine, because I got questions about this one.
Okay.
I got questions, man. Like, I was locked in and understanding everything right up until that last 15 minutes or so. And then I was like, wait, what the hell does some of this mean? So I'm hoping that together, with the strength of our thinking machines here in front of us in the form of our laptops, we can figure this shit out.
Yeah, let's just tap into the to the dreams that we each had, the exact same dream last night.
Right.
We'll just tap into that.
Horrifying nightmares.
Tap it in.
Get out our paper and our chalk.
Our charcoal.
Yeah.
And we'll just we'll draw it out. We'll
do a little meditative drawing.
We'll sketch it out.
Surely that won't be horrifying. Where'd you stand with this one? How'd you like it?
I thought it was fine.
Just fine. It was fine.
Yeah, it was
not
good.
bad.
I mean, no, I didn't take. Some of the writing in the show is funny to me still, because it's so God, now I can't even think of an example now. I should have jotted some down. I'm sure my memory will be jogged as we run through the plot of this one. But some of it's just almost like it's so serious sounding.
Yeah.
Like the people are so formal in how they articulate some thoughts and stuff. But that was one thing that I kind of, my ears kind of perked up on. But no, I thought this was a solid ep, continuation of the story that I liked. We're getting to this. I felt the momentum of the conflict coming to a head, between Desmond Hart and the Sisterhood, but almost more specifically Valia, right? I liked their little game of cat and mouse. I thought him kind of beating her to the punch was a nice little wrinkle, although one that you probably could have guessed. If you were just tossing out projections.
Yeah.
Although I did think that maybe she was gonna get back in the good grade. I thought she may have found a step on him this episode, but no, he continues to stay one step ahead.
Or multiple, yeah. I had I assumed that it wouldn't go to plan.
Right.
Her little plan to be there and keep the terrorist attack from happening and then getting back in the Emperor's good graces. I assumed that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I had no clue it would go this way.
Yeah.
No flashbacks in this one. We stay in the present tense.
Stay in the present. Yeah.
The whole time. And okay, we can get into the details.
I don't know. What about you? What'd you think?
I thought it was good. I'm confused about some things, which we'll get to. And then I stand by what I said last week. This isn't a one-season show. You can't. There's 2 hours left, man.
Right.
How are they going to wrap all this shit up?
No. This is
much happened here.
Yeah, this is very clearly designed so that it could go
longer. Yeah,
many seasons, I would say, as we've already kind of almost joked about. They got 10,000 years to play with,
and they're working the Game of Thrones formula, man. There's 10 characters. They've all got interesting shit going on. It's pretty chaotic. There's not a lot of explanation for a lot of what's happening so far.
Yeah.
So let's do that. I guess we should mention up top, by the way, it was a big weekend for fans of the Dune franchise because Timothée Chalamet, otherwise known as Timmy C, showed up on College Game Day.
He did. He
absolutely crushed it as the guest picker.
He really did. And this is genius on all parts, by the way, because I knew that Timothée Chalamet was going to be the guest picker on Game Day.
Right.
And that was must-watch TV for me.
Same.
I mostly have on Game Day on Saturday mornings anyway. But but if I miss it or if I miss the guest picker, it's no big deal. If I run out to get coffee or breakfast or whatever, I paused this shit to go get coffee and breakfast and then came back and watched Timothée Chalamet do the guest picking because and everybody it just all came together so perfectly because everybody I'm sure had the same thought that we had, which is this guy doesn't know ball.
Right.
This New York A-list celebrity does not watch college football.
Or at the very least, like I've seen them have guest pickers before that were entertaining people that were worthy of my attention, but didn't really know what they were talking about, and you could tell they're not actually invested.
Right.
So I mean, all of Twitter, all of sports Twitter was a buzz. Like they got this little fucker on there, this little Hollywood fucker on there, and they think he's gonna know how to talk about football. There's no chance. Right. But honestly, in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know, man. I think like he's special.
And he turned out to be, because I mean, one, shouts to his team for the research, unbelievable. I mean, he showed up the people on College Game Day.
He was better than the actual analysts.
Yeah, exactly. So
more prepared.
Shouts to whoever they hired or his team for getting that all in, and then to be able to do what he did, the performance that he gave. Like, he's looking down at notes every once in a while.
Yeah, of course.
But like,
they all are.
They all are. And I mean, he didn't mess up names. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about.
It was believable.
And he crushed it.
And no way to know. I mean, without a doubt, you're right. He has a team, and they prepared him for this. But no way to know if this was just an incredible performance on his part, or if he's legitimately like a college football head who watches Maction, for the last 20 years.
Chalamet is not out there watching the SWAC. He is not watching the MAC.
But he is not a Sun Belt Conference
historian.
After watching that, I believe it's possible that maybe he's just like a degenerate gambler or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. He's a great actor. Yeah. He's a great actor, and he sold it.
He
worked.
Stayed and he watched the SEC championship, by the way.
Went down there with McConaughey.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, this was a brilliant play from all sides involved, because it's championship weekend.
Yeah.
You needed somebody that was going to get people like me and you to actually tune in.
Right.
And everybody's watching, almost like you watch like a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, to see this guy flop, get knocked out. And he just dominated. It was fucking shocking, the degree to which I was like, I would watch Timothée Chalamet do sports commentary like every weekend. If they want to give him a show, I will tune in.
Yeah.
Because he was great, man.
Yeah, the reach for McConaughey was my movie dad 15 years ago, so Texas, that's my pick.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny to me.
He made a great pick on Ohio. He was the only person to pick Ohio.
Yeah, and they dominated.
I tailed that, by the way. Bet on Ohio, because I was like, all right, Timmy.
Timmy, you knew Timmy knows ball.
And it hit. I think the only pick he missed was Texas.
Okay.
Like, he was about to be 6-0.
Yeah.
And then Texas lost.
His reaction also to watching Pat McAfee do his little wrestler bit.
Incredible.
In picking Georgia was also hysterical.
Which was the only tell that maybe he doesn't watch Game Day, because Pat always crushes those. Right. So, yeah, I mean, end of the day, I think it was probably what you're saying. Just an awesome amount of preparation. He took this very seriously.
He did. Yeah.
Went out there and crushed it.
Yeah.
And there's just no way he spends like 48 hours a week watching fucking obscure college football games. He's like 27, so he's still in sort of the prime age range of, being obsessed with sports or whatever. But yeah, something else from Chalamet there. That was, and he's promoting the Bob Dylan
movie.
What is it? The Unknown?
A something unknown.
Great unknown? A complete unknown.
A complete
there
unknown.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really what we need now is we need to finish out the press tour. He should do a little cameo on Dune Prophecy. Maybe get some eyeballs on this show.
I don't think that's going to happen. He's 10,000 years too early.
He could be the. He could just put him in there as an Atreides, like little. He's. It would make sense that he looks like an Atreides from 10,000 years ago, right? Much like the way that Andrew Luck looks like many
Civil War
generals.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, congratulations to College Game Day for having a great guest picker there, and to Timmy C for crushing his appearance, because that was, I mean, it was better than anybody could have expected.
It really was. Yep.
All right, episode 4 is titled Twice Born, 63 minutes of runtime, written by Kevin Lau and Suzanne Rubel, directed by Richard J. Lewis, and this one starts with the acolytes, or the trainees of the Sisterhood. They're all having these freaky-ass nightmares, right? And one of them has a dream that she follows herself, which was super reminiscent of House of the Dragon, when what's his name? Damon.
Yeah.
Is having dreams at Harrenhal,
right.
and he's following himself. She follows herself until the other her slits her own throat, and then she like wakes up. Then Sister Jin, the anti-establishment Benny G, as we have been referring to her, wakes up and sees all of her sisters are having nightmares. Apparently, she didn't though. Jen.
That's correct.
That's what she says anyway.
She's built different,
right? So she walks out and she finds the girl that was dreaming about cutting her own throat, actually holding a knife about to slit her own throat.
Yeah, and that's Emmeline. I finally picked up her name on this episode.
And she plays a big role in this one, yeah.
Yeah. And she's her dream is like, first she dreams that she wakes up from it's
a dream within a dream.
It's a dream within a dream type thing, right? Because at first she walks up to herself and the other her turns around and has like swollen eyes and and slits her throat, right? And it's like all spooky.
Yeah.
But then she sleepwalks into almost cutting her own throat.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. It was Inception.
Yeah.
Crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Really, just from the get-go, a confusing opening where you're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
So it seems like there's some type
Jen
of...
saves her from
killing herself, yeah. So she's still alive. Seems like there's some kind of attack occurring here, though, right? Like the Sisterhood is being either plagued by something or attacked by something or...
Yes, yeah.
They're going through it.
Yep.
Valia is visiting her family. Remember, she showed up at the Harkonnen skyscraper at the end of the last episode. Uncle Robert Baratheon and her still very much do not like each other. Valia says the Sisterhood would like to elevate House Harkonnen by offering the services of a truthsayer. And remember in episode 1 or 2, whenever that was, we were talking about how she had received like 4 straight requests from House Harkonnen and kept denying them. And we were wondering, how is that going to tie in? And my read is that she was waiting for an opportunity when she could she needed them for something. And that moment has now come.
Yeah, I thought this was a good Valia episode, I think you're really watching play out like her complicated emotions about family, right? Because you're kind of wondering like two things, like does she want to elevate House Harkonnen? Does she want to put her family on the map, or did she grow so resentful of them and hateful towards her own name and blood for not living up and not to her expectations, for not having the same ambition that she and Griffin did, that she was basically like fuck you guys,
cut them off.
I'm cutting you off and I'm pushing you down, right? So it's like now the question is she kind of being forced into this? Or is this the opportunity that she was waiting for? Like, what's
hard to say?
Is she kind of coming around to this? And it's difficult to say. But she certainly is playing the situation to her own advantage, or at least trying to.
And her uncle Robert Baratheon is disgusted by this.
Yeah.
Obviously believes that this is all just her.
Yeah, she wants something.
Using them, right?
Yep.
Calling her out for standing idly by for decades while her own house clawed its way out of the shit. And I think you mentioned this on Patreon last week, that it seemed like House Harkonnen had begun to reestablish itself on some level. They obviously are not on the High Council or some important great house, but they're also not stuck on
Lonkavale
Whale Planet.
Yeah, I mean, they are still there. That is still their main thing, is whale fur trade.
But they've got this skyscraper now.
But now they're in the capital. They're wheeling and dealing a little bit.
Sort of on the way back, or as the uncle puts it, they've begun to claw their way out of the shit, right? He says, you abandon us. He starts to have one of his coughing fits and has to hit his oxygen wand. Valia at the table, as this is all occurring, she starts hearing freaky-ass whispers, like coming from the walls, telling her, you don't belong. You're not wanted. And she looks over at the painting of her dead brother, Griffin. This becomes a trend in this episode, so something to keep an eye on. She ends up talking to her nephew, Harrow, the current head of House Harkonnen, into accepting her, Valia, as his personal truthsayer, which is a big deal, obviously. She's Mother Superior, right? Yeah. She also promises Harrow a seat at the High Council as part of the deal. So this is like a huge elevation for him, right? Over on Salusa Secundus, Princess Yanez is pissed at her father for allowing Desmond Hart to dine with their family. She calls him a killer, suggests that he murdered Pruitt Richesi. Her father, the Emperor, denies it, and then Desmond Hart himself, which he does multiple times in this episode, kind of comes out and just says, yeah, I killed that little law-breaking shit for having a thinking machine, right? Like, he throws the lie out the window and just deals in truths. Her mother and father also tell Princess Yanez she can no longer go learn with the Sisterhood because she's like, look, let me get out of here. Let me go back to what the plan was. They say, no, that's off the table. She storms off and says they will never be united as long as Desmond Hart is at her father's side. And then her, I guess, bastard brother Constantine is like, I'm going with her. And they're like, sit the fuck down, guy.
Yeah, and he obliges quite promptly.
Yeah. Back at Wallach 9, Tula is also hearing freaky-ass whispers telling her, you're failing to do your part. You can't lie forever. And again, don't know where these whispers are coming from. Feels like they're probably connected to the freaky dreaming that's happening as well. Don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It also seems like when you have this, like, when you hone, like, the truth-saying ability and all that type of stuff, it kind of, like, comes back to you as well. So this is obviously some form of, like, your subconscious kind of speaking to you, right?
Oh yeah, like that.
Seems to be deploying itself as in the form of imposter syndrome for everybody. But you know what I mean? Like it's almost like once you're in touch with all this truth saying, it
and you're lying a lot.
Yeah, it hits you too.
It's gonna kick up. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. What'd you say the name of the girl was who you finally figured out? The one who dreamed about slitting her own throat? Emmeline. So she and some of the other young acolytes are now asking questions about Mother Dorothea, how she died, whether or not Valia and Tula have been telling them, like, the whole truth. And again, I'm not super clear. I guess it was probably part of all the dreaming they just did, but I wasn't clear on, like, where that suspicion came from.
I think it was from the dream. Yeah, I do.
Like, they're starting to get information that they weren't previously privy to.
Yep.
And they seem very suspicious of Tula, which obviously continues on throughout the episode. When Sister Jen, at the end of this little meeting, tells Tula that they all had crazy nightmares, except for Jen, that she herself didn't have one, that causes Tula even more concern. She's like, wait, what? Like, if it was only one girl, that's one thing. But it being all of them is much more problematic, which we will deal with momentarily. But first, all of the great houses show up to Salusa Secundus for a meeting of the High Council of the Landsrad. I don't know why it's called the Landsrad.
Yeah,
nobody
does. Nobody knows.
Don't particularly care. I'm just mentioning that I don't know what the Landsrad is. And meanwhile, Desmond Hart is burning. I don't know if it's the book, like, that the Sisterhood goes off of, like their religious text.
Yeah.
He's burning it one page at a time. Yeah. Just like reading a page.
Ritualistically burning a textbook.
Getting angry, ripping that page out, burning it.
He's just burning books.
Reading another page, getting angry, ripping that page out, burning it. Emperor Carino comes in and Desmond tells him, long story short, that he should remove the Sisterhood from all of the Imperium, like they have done here at the capital.
By the way, Ross, the Landsrad was the body that represented all the great houses, founded long before the Butlerian Jihad, but rising to prominence during the early days of the Carino Empire.
Well, how about that?
It was ruled by the High Council and overseen by the Padishah Emperor.
Which is what they call Emperor Carino when the High Council resumes here later
So the Landsrad, it's an organization information.
Just like the official title of the governing body.
Represents governed by the High Council and representing the great houses.
There we go.
Yeah.
The Emperor suggests that removing all of the Sisterhood from the Imperium would only prove that he has something to hide, which didn't seem like great logic to me. But Desmond Hart argues, like, now is the time for action. You know, when an idiot, I think he says, like, when an idiot lights a match, you don't wait for your house to burn down before taking action. You do it now. They go back and forth. Emperor Carino talks about how people just see him as, like, a beneficiary of his bloodline. I thought that was an important little monologue he gives there. He talks about, like, how his great-grandfather did this great thing and his dad did this great thing, but now he hasn't really had any huge conflict, which is it's kind of a common character trait for leaders, it seems like. It's not the first movie or TV show I've watched where whoever's in charge is like, what's my legacy going to be?
Right.
Like, I haven't had to do anything the way the other people before me did, you know?
Yep.
But Desmond Hart appeals to this desire for legacy and asks him, like, how do you want to be remembered, right? And he tells the Emperor to use him to show the great houses, like, who they are messing with, essentially. But the Emperor says no, not down for this plan. Elsewhere, the swordmaster Atreides, who has been banging Princess Yanez, and the leader of their rebel group pick up a thinking machine explosive device from a black market salesman. It's an autonomous drone that, remember how they were, you know...
Yeah, they got the blueprint of the
whole palace or whatever.
Yeah, they got the 3D imaging.
They're going to use that little slot in the wall to like put this thing in there and then blow up the entire High Council, it seems like. Yeah, correct. They're really going for it.
Did this little device remind you of the Hunter Seeker from Dune Part 1?
Yes, and in the same way when we brought up the lizard, you know, that Pruitt was playing with, it was like, well, why do they fear these things so much? Yeah, this is why.
Turns out that Hunter Seeker, not actually a thinking machine.
Really?
That is a Hunter Seeker, and it is controlled by the person operating the Hunter
Remote
Seeker.
Controlled, which is why they had that. There was a Harkonnen in the walls.
That's right.
They'd been there for like weeks, like living off of a IV drip.
We get some traction on TikTok. It turns out
we do.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's where I learned that. Comments of TikTok.
Oh, you got to be careful in there, though, bro.
For what?
I don't go into those TikTok comments anymore.
For spoilers?
For spoilers. I'm scared.
I don't care about spoilers for this.
Oh, okay. Well, just be careful with sharing them.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. Can you do spoilers for this?
I don't know, but I fear them.
Yeah.
I have the fear.
Well, I'm in there. I'm just lathering up in the comments.
Okay.
But no, because I'll only to say, like, we popped up on my algo, on my feed.
That's huge for
us.
On
my TikTok. And there were a lot of likes and a lot of comments. And IG Reels have been slower, it seems like, with this.
You never know. It's like seasonal.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gas us up, Meta. Come on. Put that Dune Prophecy. Put it on.
Anyway, the rebel group is planning. I assumed they had something going. They've been referring to sort of like, we need one more thing and then we can, enact our plan. And I thought, taking out the Emperor is one thing. Taking out the entire High Council.
Yeah, those were bold moves.
It's a big swing.
Yes, very big swing.
The blue-eyed bartender member of the rebellion that is actually secretly a member of the Sisterhood tells Swordmaster Atreides that making the Imperium better comes at a cost and asks if he's ready to pay it, which is kind of a twofold, service that this does for us. One, reminds us that she's there and that she's part of the Sisterhood and that she's completely aware of this rebel group's plan. Mm-hmm. And two, that, he's really putting his ass on the line here and that he is an Atreides, right? And as far as we know, the only current day timeline Atreides that we are aware of. The only one we've been introduced to.
Okay.
Valia attempts to record a voicemail for Tula on her little Nintendo Switch device, comforting her over Lila's death. Mm-hmm. Clearly, Valia's feeling some guilt over that. Anyway, she ends up not liking how desperate she sounds.
Pulls that little plastic cartridge out and just
breaks it. Ends up deletes it before sending, basically.
Correct.
It's like, would you like to redo your voicemail? Press 2. But yeah, because she's in there and she's talking about like, I could really use your help here, and that's when she decides like, no, I can't be asking for help. I can't sound like I don't have this under control. Can't send this message. Theodosia comes in and tells her the rebels are using a thinking machine to attempt to assassinate everyone at the High Council meeting. Clearly, she has gotten word from the blue-eyed mole that they've got in there. Mole. Valia throws a knife at a spider to show how sharp she is with a blade and says she will stop the assassination attempt and save the Emperor's life to regain his trust and oust Desmond Hart, which felt like it was a cool scene. Don't get me wrong, because she doesn't even look over at the spider. Yeah. We see the spider on the ground. She does not look at it again, and the next thing you know, it's like 4 feet up a wall, and she no-look knifes this thing. But the plan is basically for her to be at the High Council meeting, see when the explosive drone that is going to kill everyone flies into the room and knife it out of the sky. It was just crazy. Like, I get it. She's accurate. She don't miss. But
was that the plan?
That was the plan.
Oh, okay.
She was going to knife
the
little drone.
Well, I'm glad that she killed that poor innocent spider that was just hanging out, not doing anything.
Just doing its job, probably looking for flies.
Because everybody knows that in a genre movie or television show, if you need to display your accuracy with a blade, you have to throw a knife at the wall and stick something to the wall.
Got to stick something.
You have to do this.
Something's got to get stuck.
Otherwise, you're no good with a knife.
Yep. And
right?
everyone knows it.
And everyone knows it. So you have to. This is part of the knife blade expert journey. Is sticking something in the wall
to show off.
To show off. Yeah.
Yeah. It was tight.
Yeah.
It was tight. Then she has the members of the Sisterhood. We get like this like montage scene of this conversation taking place in like 8 different places with the sisters spreading rumors amongst the great houses that House Richesi thinks that Little Lord Pruitt was murdered. They're basically sowing dissent, right? That someone needs to request a formal inquiry, but it shouldn't be one of the like existing great houses. They need someone somebody desperate of low standing,
right?
Whose reputation is already dog shit.
Because they're going to kill the messenger. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to put your own neck out there.
No. Long story short, they're going to get House Harkonnen into the High Council with Valia's nephew Harrow as their representative and have him, the overzealous leader of a lesser house, call for this formal inquiry into Pruitt Richesi's death. This is probably the only real plot point I had issue with. I was like, okay, wait, so you're telling me all it takes I guess this spreading of the rumors thing gets the other the houses, the great houses, into a position where they're like, all right, we need to bring somebody else on board to do this for us.
Right.
But it doesn't seem brazen that it's like meeting number 1. This guy just shows up to the High Council. They're like, yeah, we got a new guy. It's Baron Harkonnen. We know they've been a disgraced house that has not been allowed to participate in any of this for God knows how long, but he's in now. Oh, by the way, as the meeting starts, he's up first. He's got something he wants to say. You know what I mean? It just seems like very obvious, like a plant.
Yeah. I guess that's okay. Because they're clearly, their invitation to him is very clearly like quid pro quo, right?
Like you're in, but only if you're with us on this thing.
But only if you do this for us.
Right.
That's how you're going to get your seat.
And we're going to get your back.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, kind of like, sure, like who cares if the Emperor can read through this? Because he won't be able to like pin it on them
or do anything about it in the moment.
This Harkonnen house has now brought the inquiry. It's basically like it's plausible deniability for them.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, it's transparent. It does feel very obvious, but like they just need to not be the one to stand up at the High Council and say this, basically.
Yeah. Valia advises her nephew to do this so that he can elevate House Harkonnen to a new station, put them back on the map. She promises the future can redefine their name and that he, not angry Uncle Robert Baratheon, is that future.
Whose name is, I believe, Yevgeny? Is that it?
Robert Baratheon.
Evgeny?
Big Bob. Big Bob Baratheon. Yeah. Want to learn a new language? Well, the best way is to uproot your entire life, drop yourself in the middle of a new country, and figure it out from there. But if you're not ready for that, you can still learn a language the next best way. That is with Babel. Today's episode is brought to you by Babel. Speak like a whole new you with Babel, the science-backed language learning app that gets you talking. Wasting hundreds of dollars on private tutors is the old school way of learning a new language. Babel's 10-minute lessons are quick and handcrafted by over 200 language experts, ready to get you talking your new language in 3 weeks, because talking is the key to really knowing any language. Babel's tools and tips are grounded in the real-life stuff you'll actually need. Everything in their lessons is focused on conversation, so you'll be ready to talk wherever you go. Babel's courses are incredibly convenient. I have used Babel to try and regain my grasp on Spanish, and they make it really easy to learn how to do all the basics you would need if you were on vacation or whatever, like order food, ask for directions, or speak to merchants without having to consult language apps while out and about in a foreign land. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove Babel is better. One study found that using Babel for 15 hours is the equivalent to a full semester at college, which really makes me feel like I got ripped off at college. You know?
Yeah.
Babel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Get Babel travel. Here's a special limited time deal for the Clam Fam. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/OCC. That's spelled BABBEL.com/OCC. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/OCC. Rules and restrictions may apply. So back on Wallach 9, Hawk Tula gives the acolytes some spice. Once she's found out they all had dreams, right? She's like, all right, we're all going to get a little high, do a little meditation, and do some drawing. And she guides them through this meditation where they draw like what's in like the deepest parts of their minds. You know, it's a terrifying scene. Yep. They're drawing all kinds of freaky shit. And rather than pull them out of the drawing daze, Tula pushes them further. She's like, now go further into your minds. They like flip the page. That one's done. Got to go to the next. She's desperate to find out what they see, right? She thinks their dreams are a message. Mm-hmm. And the elderly sister, whose name slips my mind at the moment, but I have it somewhere in here, she comes in and begs Tula to stop this. Eventually, Tula agrees, and she's like, all right, stop. Snap out of it. Open your eyes. And nobody listens. And then she starts to freak out, and she's like, back. I thought she was going to fall out this window, by the way. I thought she was just going to back up straight out the window and die. Eventually, they do stop. They do snap out of it on their own, but after finishing like 5 pages of different drawings.
Yeah, they got to get to the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to go all the way to the end.
The cloaked eyes.
And they're all terrified, freaking out. One of them says something scary, you know, some message or whatever. That was a stressful scene. I did not enjoy.
No?
No, did not enjoy from like a stress standpoint.
Oh, I thought it was pretty tight.
It was cool, but that was a lot for Sunday night. That was a lot of the way it was shot, man. Like where you're getting the close up, like the heart, and they're really going at it. You know, I don't like that. Yeah.
I liked how they all started out with like something specific, and then as she flipped the pages, that it funneled into like them all.
Yeah,
drawing the same
big
thing.
Circle.
Yeah.
I don't like those vibes.
Shayalud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. On Salusa Secundus, the Empress visits Desmond Hart. She's very clearly Team Desmond Hart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gives him information on a bunch of black market thinking machine salesmen. Admits to him that it was her who spread the rumor about little Lord Pruitt-Richesi, which everyone was trying to figure out, but I didn't particularly care. And says her husband, Havoco Carino, not Javico. I think I've been saying this wrong the whole
soft
season.
J.
Havoco, soft J, Carino. He just needs a little push once in a while, right? So
what is that called? It's not a soft J, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah. Or a silent J.
Silent J?
But no, it's there.
It's a Spanish J.
It's soft.
Yeah.
A soft Spanish J. There we go. Desmond Hart then sends a team of like Imperial police, I guess, out to deal with these thinking machine salesmen that the Empress has tipped him off to, which it took me a second watch through to understand what was happening here. This is how, when the High Council meeting is taking place and like Princess Yanez calls him out, she's like, this fucker killed little Lord Pruitt.
Yep.
And he's like, I've got something to show you all. And he brings out the leader of the rebellion. This is how he gets the leader of the rebellion.
Correct.
So the Empress has tipped him off to these people who did these thinking machine deals or whatever.
Yeah. It's like this box of leads. It's like, hey, we have this catalog of people that are out there probably dealing in thinking machines. But we've never chased it down because we've been lackadaisical about it, or nobody's had the balls to do it, or whatever. And she's like, you could do something with these. And then that's what he's distributing to the police task force.
Right.
He's like, go get all these people. We're going to kill them.
Yeah. And I was just shocked.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden he's like head of the City Watch or whatever. I was like, man, he really elevated himself here. Next we bounce over to the rebel group, including Swordmaster Atreides. They're getting high on what I think is the same oxygen shit that keeps Uncle Robert Baratheon alive.
Very interesting question. It's clearly the same device.
Yeah.
Whether they are huffing the same thing, not sure.
Yeah, maybe it's like how, you can get a vape and you can put whatever cartridge in that vape and vape different things.
Right.
Whether it be...
Do we think they're doing spice in the club?
Yeah, I think so, right?
But I don't think that's what Robert Baratheon's doing.
No.
So...
Probably right.
I feel like it's the mechanism, but then you can pop whatever floats your boat or keeps you alive
whatever you want to huff,
yeah.
Medicinal or otherwise. Yeah. Princess Yanez shows up, surprisingly, and the Atreides is like, what the hell are you doing here? He takes her into a corner, tells her she shouldn't be here. Yanez, we get a lot of information here. One, Vorian Atreides was offered the throne, but refused it. Remember Vorian?
I do.
Yeah, from last week. Old Vorian, he got mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
Apparently he's still out there somewhere, or he was at some point.
Maybe.
Anyway, he was offered to be emperor. He didn't want to be emperor. Swordmaster Atreides seems to think that's because he saw like what comes with it.
Yeah.
And the crookedness of it or something, and like it wasn't for him. Yanez shares her disgust with her dad being enamored with Desmond Hart. So Swordmaster Atreides has a little in here. Atreides shares that his father survived an atrocity, which led me to assume that his dad is the little boy that Hawk Tula spared.
Okay. Yeah. That would make sense. That does make sense.
Yeah. They end up making out again because they have to. They have to make out.
Mm-hmm.
Yanez seems like she's on board to potentially help the rebellion. But then Atreides stops the makeout and says he's trying to choose the right path. And he walks away. And the blue-eyed bartender watches all of this. So again, the Sisterhood is pretty keyed in.
They're tapped in
on what is happening here with this rebellion.
Yeah.
Back at the Harkonnen household, Theodosia asks Valia about the portrait of her brother Griffin outside on the wall. Valia doesn't want to talk about it. And Theodosia's like, look, why did you bring me here? Why'd you bring me with you? And Valia tells her, you know why. And I was like, well, I don't know why. Can we tell us why? Because I need to know why. They start talking about what Valia refers to as Theo's talent.
Mm-hmm.
And Theodosia's like, it's not a talent. And Valia's like, you're right. It's a last resort. And Theo says that she did this once, this indescript thing.
Yeah.
And she never wants to do it again.
Right.
And Valia's like, I wouldn't ask you to unless I wouldn't ask unless I had to ask. And she's like, you already have.
Yeah.
So it's clear we're going to see this.
Yeah.
Whatever this is. But at this point, we don't know.
Yep.
On Wallach 9, Tula studies the drawings that the Acolytes did, and her and the old lady sister recognize that it's not, the well. When the old lady sister comes in and they're all doing the drawings, and she's like, it's the well. They're drawing the well. What the hell is the well?
I think she's wrong.
She is wrong. It's not the well. But it made me wonder what the well is.
Yeah, don't know.
There's a well somewhere.
There is a well, yeah.
Maybe we'll find out about it. I just thought the well I'm familiar with is the one from The Ring.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I don't like that well or what comes out of it.
The whole thing was giving Ring.
It was.
To be quite honest.
Yeah.
Scratchy drawings and creepy imagery and like all that type of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it's not the well. It's Shai Hulud, right? They were wrong. It's not the well. They realized this.
Yep.
The two eyes that they all draw, it's like a straight up, they chalk out the whole piece of paper in all black, but they leave the two little eyes.
Yep.
And you're like, what the hell is that? And it matches up with the thing we see in maybe the opening scene of the show and then several times since. And again, in this episode, when we get the POV of Desmond Hart being eaten by the worm, it's like you go in there into the worm and then there's some kind of like godlike two eyes you end up being exposed to or something. I don't know. We don't have clarity on this yet, but it seems to all be connected. Sister Avila, she's the old one. Wants to warn the Sisterhood of what's coming, like that they're all having these bad dreams, something's going wrong. We've got girls out there in the field, right? These are just the acolytes they've got here at the training ground, but they've got girls like out there doing the job who need to be made aware that something is up. But Tula says that she thinks this whole thing is like rooted in fear, that it like thrives on fear.
Yep.
She doesn't want to spread fear, so she doesn't want to spread.
Yeah, if fear is what led to Kasha's demise. Right.
Then could that kill everyone if they all get scared?
Yeah. Right.
So it doesn't want that.
You know what they say about fear.
It's the mind killer.
It's the mind killer.
Yeah.
So they've not stated that explicitly yet, but methinks that we're headed there.
Oh man, you're right. That's where that's
Fear
coming
is the
down
mind
the
killer.
yeah. It's the little death that brings total obliteration.
Yeah.
Can't have that.
No.
Princess Yanez talks to her bastard brother Constantine and tells him, like, look, we're going to go to the High Council together, and we're going to tell him what father has done, that Desmond Hart killed that little boy, and tries to talk him into getting on board with her plan, but he's like, I really enjoy my current head on my shoulders, which is a straight-up Tyrion line from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we don't really know where he's at as far as being with her or not with her when that little conversation ends. But the High Council meeting takes place. Everybody is there. Valia, Value's nephew, the newest member of the High Council representing House Harkonnen, Princess Yanez. Constantine shows up and like almost rats out his sister to their dad, but then doesn't. The Empress, obviously the Emperor, Haviko Carino, etc. Meeting starts. Baron Harkonnen takes the floor, calls for the formal inquest into the death of Pruitt Richesi. It's a really tense scene. They cut over to like the Atreides, the Swordmaster, who's like getting ready to set free the little killer drone that they've got. Valia takes out her knife and is like getting ready to stop the attack and take back her power. Then Yanez bursts in and says that the formal inquest into the death of Pruitt Richesi is against the Imperial House. So like the Baron Harkonnen didn't even really get to do the thing.
Yeah.
She kind of took his thunder here.
Yep.
But Yanez accuses her father's new man, as she calls him, Desmond Hart, of murdering Pruitt Richesi. The whole thing feels like it's about to explode. And then Desmond Hart steps up, takes over the meeting, brings out the head of the rebellion that the Atreides has been working with, gives this wild-eyed speech about predators, and I think his experience on Arrakis being eaten by that worm, but he was like speaking in fucking riddles.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
He admits openly again to executing Pruitt Richesi for using forbidden machine technology. So now he's saying like this was an act of like the law.
It was an execution.
He takes out the thinking machine. He says rebels were planning on executing everyone therewith, throws it on the ground and stomps on it, which I was like, yo, you typically stomp on explosives that could cause them to explode. But
yeah.
Question here, big question here. Atreides is in the back. He's getting ready to do the attack. He's got the thinking machine. That's what he's going to do the attack with.
Right.
How the hell does Desmond Hart get it?
He doesn't have it. Atreides never has it.
So what was his part in the plan?
He's looking in the little slot in the wall. Remember, he like pulls the little grill off of it. But then
he pulls the grill off, but then Yanez comes in and he's like, "Oh shit, I can't do this." So he puts the grill back on the wall.
So I don't know if he is. My question is, does he see that the little drone thingy is not there, or is he changing his mind? Is he bailing on the plan?
I'm pretty confident he's changing his mind and bailing on the plan. So I guess what happened here is he still has the thinking machine, but Desmond Hart got another one from one of these other people they arrested. Is my guess.
I guess that's a good question. I assumed that it was supposed to be in that little slot and that it wasn't.
But who would have put it there?
The guys that they've rounded up.
Yeah, I see. I don't think those guys were ever in the capital. The reason the Atreides is so valuable is because he is there as the swordmaster to the Emperor.
Okay.
He is there. He is their mole. Okay. He's the rebel group's mole. I don't think any of these other fuckers have access to the Capitol building at all. They're only there because Desmond Hart has had them arrested as a result of all the little leads that the Empress gave him.
Yeah, this is a good question. I don't know.
My guess is that it's a thinking machine he got from one of these. There's like 3 guys he brings in. We only recognize really the one, I think, who's the head of the rebel group.
But so then Atreides could have still. You think Atreides still could have detonated the whole thing like that?
I don't know. That's the big question mark.
It seems like Desmond has foiled the plot by having this. I mean, because it's exactly what they're using is this little.
But I think one of the other people they've got in here arrested that ends up burning from the inside out is the black market.
It's the dealer,
dealer.
Yeah.
So I don't think he got the one from the Atreides. I think Atreides backed off from the plan here because he didn't want to kill Yanez.
Okay.
And we'll have to see what happens with that moving forward. But it was definitely confusing. Anyway, he ends up executing all of what he calls the predators in their midst by burning them from the inside out.
Now, why do you think he also burns the one high council member? That high council member is a dude we saw, like, he's in a bar. You know what? I'm answering my own question. As a result of your question. We see that high council dude in a bar doing like a shady deal, and he sees the Bene Gesserit walk in, the member of the Sisterhood, and he goes, "Ooh, take the thinking machine." Yeah.
And he hands it to the other guy he's having a conversation with.
That's right. Okay.
So that's the thinking machine, because they end up arresting him for being a traitor, and that's the thinking machine that Desmond Hart has.
Okay.
So I'm 99% sure that the Atreides swordmaster just called off the attack because of Yanez's presence.
Okay.
But now his rebel group is screwed. I guess he's in charge of it. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but yeah. But anyway, he killed that guy because that guy was a traitor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And burns the prisoners he brought out too.
Learns that guy has been in cahoots with these thinking machine dealers and all that.
Yeah. To some degree, yeah. Right. So doing this execution exhausts Desmond Hart, which we've seen this it takes a toll on him.
It does.
And it takes a larger toll, it turns out, when he does it to four or five people at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
Big toll.
As he's kind of going through it, he does the thing, he grabs both of his temples or whatever. You can tell it's he's having to really use all of his strength and will to get this done. And then we get taken to this vision where he looks over to the left and he sees the thumper. He looks over to the right and sees the thumper. And then we see Shai Hulud come out of the sand and go down and eat him. And then the little blue eyes and the darkness or whatever and the weird fucking noise that Dune seems to love. He's bleeding from his back.
Mm-hmm.
He bleeds some on the banister in front of Valia, and she's like, ooh, gonna get that blood for a little DNA test. She's gonna use it, send it to Tula, and have her access the genetic index to figure out exactly who Desmond Hart is and where he came from. And in the moment, as that's unfolding and that's being explained to us, and Valia has that conversation with Theodasia, I was like, what difference does it make? Even if they find out, oh, he's a member of the, dipshit clan or whatever, how the fuck is that going to help? The problem is the power he has, not where he's from. But we get more clarity on this before the episode ends, which you just want to go through the end here and then we can talk the whole fucking rest of this.
Yeah.
So back on Wallach 9, one of the sisters, the one that you figured out her name finally. Emmeline. She sneaks up on Tula. Tula's down in the secret tunnel where the genetic index is and where Lila is being stored. Emmeline watches Tula beg Lila to wake up and explain to Lila that she believes she is the one born twice, once through blood, once through spice, and that she's the key to the reckoning. Emmeline calls out Tula directly for murdering Dorothea, which means she did in fact somehow become privy to that knowledge, for murdering the Atreides, which is the scene we saw unfold last week where Tula takes out that entire Atreides clan. Mm-hmm. Says that their lies must be cleansed and that she is going to speak the truth to the whole Imperium. So, of course, Tula fulfills the prophetic dream and slits Emmeline's throat. Right? Lila wakes up, escapes from her see-through coffin.
Now, that was all a dream.
None of that happened? Okay, so that's a vision.
That was, yeah. She's sitting down there with Lila, and that's a vision, a dream that she has.
And then Lila wakes up.
And then she kind of snaps to, comes to.
And Lila's gone.
And Lila's gone from the tube. Yeah.
Can't find her.
Yeah.
Turns on the AI so that there's lights, sees her. Lila hugs her, has no idea where she is. We're not sure how that's going to play out yet. But just to be clear, Emmeline is still alive.
Correct.
So that was just a nightmare.
Just a nightmare vision. The guilt of all of this is clearly sitting with her and racking her. And
because again, the question as I'm watching, I'm like, how would she know about the Atreides thing? How would she know about Dorothea?
Right, and this is where we get a little bit of her whisper. Don't we get her some whispers again down here? I think in the computer dungeon. But
something's screwing with these people.
Yeah, and just earlier in the episode, we listened to her tell all the acolytes that Dorothea died when she killed herself from the grief. Right. So she has been lying to them, and she is and as we've talked about over the first 3 episodes, she's worried that that somebody through some of these visions, through whatever message is being communicated to them,
is going to find out
through some of their powers. However, they're all the truth saying all that. Somebody tries to Emmeline tries to truth say her.
Hits her with the index finger and the thumb.
Are you using truth sense on me?
Yeah. Which seems like they maybe have the Sisterhood probably is taught some way to combat it as well.
Maybe.
Because otherwise Emmeline would just straight up know, right?
Could. Yeah. You think that there's probably a way to
well, Desmond Hart can do it. Yeah.
It's like in Harry Potter, the when they get into each other's minds.
Yeah. You got to push him out.
You got to push him out.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that art is called, but
it is an art.
But it is an art. Yeah. So that's just a nightmare. A good one though, and I think it's it's telling for both the guilt that she's feeling, the concern that she has, but also just is I think emphasizing the fact that Tula would do that.
If she has to, she will kill again.
She would kill again. Yeah.
Yeah. But Lila is now awake.
She's out here like Patrick Swayze, just ripping throats, man.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. So the end, and I'll do the short version of this.
Lila's got like a glow to her eyes.
Oh yeah, her eyes. Something's happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah. She different.
Yeah.
Reborn.
Yeah.
Through spice.
Correct.
High as hell. That's probably what it is. So to close things out, Valia returns to the skyscraper, the Harkonnen skyscraper, fights with her uncle Robert Baratheon, ends up basically not murdering him, but letting him die from a coughing fit, not providing him with his breathing apparatus, medicine huffing machine.
His huffing tube.
He's dead. R.I.P. Her brother Griffin walks into the room.
Yeah.
They have a full-blown conversation where he basically tells her, like, it's not your fault. We all make our own choices.
Right.
I wanted to do that, and I died. It sucks, but it's not on you.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that's actually Theodosia.
Theodosia, yes.
A.K.A. Theo.
Theo.
Who she's like, thank you, Theo. And Theo walks away and starts mutating back into herself, which it turns out is an extremely painful
process,
and awful process.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So, big question mark around what was the point of getting Theo to do that?
Okay. So my read here was that there's something about sacrifice, right? There's some lines about sacrifice where like Theo's like, if you're willing to make the sacrifice, then I am too. Doesn't that happen? I feel like that happens
maybe
somewhere. But I'll jump to the point. She watches Valia do this whole dance with her uncle, right? And she she gifts her this transformation basically. She's like, okay, I'll do it. I'm gonna give this to you.
But for why? Well, here's why. If let's say I tell my brother we got to do this thing. My brother goes and does it. He dies, and then you have this mutation ability, and I'm like, hey man, would you mind? Would you mutate into my brother and tell me it's all good and that you're not angry at me and you forgive me?
Right.
Subconsciously, I'm still going to know it's you.
Yeah.
Not my brother.
Right.
Ipso facto, I will not, in fact, be healed. It's that the therapy is mook. So I'm like, I just don't, or moot.
Moot.
Moot?
Moot.
Moot.
But we should just start calling it mook.
Mook? But it felt a little hollow in that way where I'm like, God damn.
That's a good point.
You wanted her to, she's only done this one other time for y'all, and it was like when she joined up to show you her power.
Right, and you know it's incredibly difficult and painful and awful.
You could have her literally transform into the Emperor and like go stop all of this madness, but instead you were like, I need you to be my brother for 45 seconds and tell me that I'm a good girl. You know what I mean? I was just like, what the fuck?
It's a good point.
Now, on the other hand, this made me realize why getting Desmond Hart's DNA is important. Because you remember we were wondering, like, is somebody like a shapeshifter or a face changer or whatever? Because like, what the fuck? How do you get eaten by a worm but then also survive?
Yeah.
Well, Theo has this ability to turn into anyone. So maybe he is not who he looks like.
Okay, right. That is
so
one of the things that we guessed. Yeah.
Then the genetic index would in fact be helpful because they can ID him or her or it or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe that's where it makes sense. But I was still like, why in the name of God would, if Theo has that power, this is the way you would ask her to use it? Like for a little feel good after you murder your uncle?
That's a great point. That's a really good point. And I totally hear you. Like this is, I guess I can buy that seeing is believing, right? And so that this still represents like a cathartic moment that Valia needs, right? Like people are willing to go to great lengths to kind of like convince themselves of what they want to hear or what they want to believe, right?
And she needs that.
And she needs that. And
she needs it.
Yeah. My question, I guess, is when they're talking earlier about this ability, right? And she's like, I won't ask unless I need it. And she's like, you already have. And she's basically saying that like, by bringing me and by acknowledging that you kind of brought me because I have this ability, you've already said that you're going to need it. Was this what she was talking about? Was this the way that she was going to need Theo's ability to shapeshift? Or was this like a freebie
I think this was a freebie.
Where she was like, all right.
I think you're tapping into something here.
I'm gonna give you this one on the house.
I am willing to do this again for you.
Yeah.
This is me doing it again, maybe as a little bit of practice. You getting this cathartic moment out of it, and it's also reinforcement that I will go there for you if I have to.
Right. Yeah, but no, it definitely required the inside, under the veil, or whatever, like behind the veil piece of this for me to be like, oh, okay, this was Theo kind of responding to an earlier conversation about sacrifice, and then seeing Valia's willingness to sacrifice, and then being like, all right, I'll sacrifice too. That didn't all totally like compute or lay out well for me in that last 10 minutes. But
it also reminds me that when she's like, I'm headed to the old capital city, and you're coming with me, and Theo's like, you're aware of my condition.
Yeah, that still doesn't really track for me either.
I don't think this is the condition.
It's got to be, right?
Is it a werewolf type thing? I really don't know. Because it was when you and I guessed that she was pregnant. Like,
right,
is she pregnant? Like, is that the condition?
Is that her
what
condition?
Does she mean?
Yeah.
What's the condition? I don't know if this is even it. Her ability to... how would her power be... why would that matter? Why would she bring it up
it doesn't
way?
make sense. Yeah,
so that's got to be something else. It also seems
that's like saying that's like let's just flip it, and Valia being like, but what about my condition? And her condition is just the ability to use the voice.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So what?
It doesn't make sense.
You can use the voice or not use the voice. Like,
so there's still that on top of Theo being some kind of weird shapeshifter person that
unless you make. I mean, I guess your guess could be a good one. Is this not something? Is this involuntary?
I don't know, man.
Is this like something that happens?
And she just has to pick. She's like, oh fuck, I'm shifting. Gotta pick that guy.
That doesn't make a ton of sense either. So I don't know.
Seems, okay, between this Theo shapeshifting deal and Valia's The Voice, it seems like a lot of the Sisterhood gets like random X-Men style powers.
It does, yeah.
Which we got no version of that in the Dune movies. It's just they just have the voice,
right? And
they drink the water of life, and they become, truth sayers and whatnot. But this show is making it seem like an X-Men situation.
It's there's a lot of X-Men vibes. The school for gifted children. Yeah.
Where they're like all these girls can potentially tap into like different powers, which also reminds me of like what we do in the shadows. All the vampires sort of have different powers. Anyway, this is what I mean at the top of the show when I said like this was a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot to unpack here. Clearly leaves us with a lot of questions and wanting clarity on several different fronts.
Yeah. And
Not that that's bad. I'm just like, there's two left.
And I definitely think some of this like kind of tertiary storyline or narrative with a character like Theo definitely feels like maybe some of the stuff that kind of got hacked up a little bit with the reduction to 6 episodes and all the writing changes and like the scripts being reworked and like all that type of stuff. This is always the type of thing that kind of suffers, is that these storylines which were built in but on the fringes, the side stories are the ones that are at real risk of getting kind of like messed with in a way that reduces their quality a little bit, because you're like, wait, what now?
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that's happened yet necessarily. It's at risk. It's a risk.
Possible, yeah.
We'll see how the last two play out. But like, yeah, that was a crazy, crazy scene to end the show, to end the episode. And I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to the next one. As a result, like, they're doing a great job with that.
Yeah.
Like keeping me like, damn, I really want to know what that means or what happens next, or like what. It feels like there's going to be a very explosive penultimate or final episode, one of the two.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll be classic penultimate because this is only a 6-episode season.
It's a good question. I could see the finale being the more explosive, momentous ep. But yeah, this episode had a good hook. I can't wait for them to put the blood through the AI thinking machine genetic computer bot.
Find out who the hell Desmond Hart is.
Yeah.
See what his deal is.
Yeah.
What the heck is going to happen with Lila?
Yeah.
What is Valia's next move? Her uncle is now dead. She's installed her nephew as a member of the High Council. She's serving as his truth sayer officially.
Yeah.
Desmond Hart just stopped an assassination attempt, basically killed off the head of the rebel horde, but the Atreides is still in there, and I'm pretty fucking confident he's still got that explosive device.
Yeah.
Yanez has betrayed her father.
Mm-hmm.
Constantine is in the gray area. He's in the middle. Didn't participate in one side or the other. It's just, there's a lot happening here.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It was fun. There was just multiple moments where I was like, I don't understand. Why would she transform into her long dead brother?
That's a good question. You brought up some good points.
I think you gave me a good answer though.
Okay.
I think it was her agreeing to allow Valia to get her to use her power or whatever. Yeah. Damn, it looked painful though.
It sure did.
Fuck.
That
was
was
screaming.
That was more uncomfortable than the dream drawing sequence.
It was. Yeah. It was. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Barrett and I will be back later this week on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles, diving deeper into this episode with further digestion and discussion driven by hotline calls from our listeners. You may have noticed that we have a lot of questions. Turns out our listeners often have a lot of answers, many of them because they've read the texts and stuff, but we do spoiler-free podcasting as often as we can, consistently as we can. And we will maintain that. So if you're in the Mollusk Militia, get your hotline calls in on Patreon. But remember, we don't want to know any spoilers. We don't even know if spoilers are possible.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
We don't know.
But we will be talking about this thing even deeper to figure out the answers to some of the questions we have.
Yeah. And then just a reminder, if you're like, man, this show's not for me, but boy, I wish you guys were covering Silo. We've talked about every single episode of Silo over on the Patreon. So
yeah.
We are going to be able to bring some coverage to you of Silo because Dune, we only have 2 more weeks of Dune, and which means 6 more weeks of Silo.
Yeah.
So there will be some ad-based stuff, but if you just want to hear us kind of digest and listen to some hotline calls and then kind of talk about the episode in response, Patreon is the place where that is happening. We're also chopping it up a little bit about Landman in there.
Yeah.
So,
been talking some Landman.
Yeah.
And some Silo every week so far.
Yep.
Very much looking forward to watching the new episode of both of those as well. It's been a solid little TV month here, or a couple months, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of enjoyable stuff.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Nothing too heavy and serious that I'm so over the top invested in that I, can't sleep or anything, or I'm having freaky nightmares that make me draw terrifying things. But solid. Enjoyable stuff. Patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Get in there now. You can enjoy a 7-day free trial. See how awesome those ad-free episodes are. Enjoy the other 2 that we've put out already for Dune Prophecy. We obviously took the week off for Thanksgiving, so there's 2, not 3, available. We've got 1 hotline call-driven episode discussing the series premiere, and then 1 hotline call-driven episode discussing episodes 2 and 3 that we dropped last week. Patreon, patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Also, please support our sponsors all season long by using the URLs and codes provided in the description of this episode. Today we had Babel, babbel.com/OCC to get up to 60% off your Babel subscription. Mr. Dudley, where can the people follow you on social media and keep up with your other content?
I'm right here at Barrett Dudley. Across all the platforms, except for not for Blue Sky. I'm not on Blue Sky yet.
No, neither is our show. I still haven't done it. Why are you bringing up Blue Sky? I'm on there, but I've only Blue Skyed one thing.
It's in my peripherals. I'm just hearing a lot about Blue Sky. It seems like a lot of people are over on Blue Sky. And I just think it's funny that people think that Blue Sky can be any different than any of the other microblogging sites, as I heard it called for the first time ever last week.
Microblogging. So that's what Threads and Twitter.
They're microblogging
Blue Sky.
sites. Yeah. Look, man, when your entire platform is basically just a comment section, it's going to be a fucking shit show.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And if you don't let it be a shit show, then you're just
boring.
Then you're creating a boring echo chamber, which is also useless. So, yeah,
it's a real conundrum.
Yeah.
That's why we podcast instead of operating big social media sites.
I don't totally understand why people just want this space to just shout into the void with no without the riffraff coming in.
There's always going to be riffraff.
Yeah. I don't know.
Rome is the mob.
Get a diary or something.
It's a much healthier idea. So as somebody who has been on Twitter since 2011 or whatever, I wish I had just started a diary instead. Yeah. My mental health would be so much better. I'm at WR Bolin on all of the aforementioned, but I'm not on Blue Sky. My Blue Sky is different. It's a secret. You have to figure it out.
You're lying in wait over on Blue Sky.
I'm on there, but I'm not giving out my username.
Okay.
So if you can't just find me,
all right,
then it's your loss.
Little hunt.
A treasure hunt.
Little treasure hunt.
Go to bowlinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some merch this holiday season. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon and reading them on social media. Until next time. Lisa Nagaib.